Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a cold and overcast Moscow. Welcome to a new apartment video. The building's right behind me. We're gonna walk on over there and check it out. Now, I've just got here, I just jumped off the bus, and I'm not sure actually which building it is yet. I was just given an address. I'm on my own today, so hopefully I can figure this out. I hope so. However, it's a very big complex. This is actually what they call a micro district, which is a development built by one company. Generally, there are 3 or 4 or 5 buildings around one central kind of a garden in the middle. And this is called Legendary Quarter. So let's hope it's legendary. Where I am here is just in the north of Moscow. We're 14 kilometers from Red Square. There is a very beautiful church right across the road. This looks fairly new as well. So I imagine this was built as part of this entire micro-district area. I am actually right in between 2 metro stations. However, it's about a 10-minute walk to Botanechki Siad. Just where you see the buildings in the distance is where the actual station would be. And I actually took the bus because it was only about 3 stops, and it was passing by right as I got out of the metro. And then in this direction is metro station Vadikino. And there is actually other buildings right nearby, so this will be another micro district from a different developer. And the legendary quarter. I had to come all the way to the street to make sure I got it into the shot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just briefly walk around downstairs, and then we'll head on inside and check it out. Now, this place is currently listed for rent, and I will go through the prices at the end of the video. So if you want to skip to that, you can. Or you can enjoy my little narrated tour of this apartment that we're going to go and see. I have not been inside. Sometimes I go inside and film the video in reverse and do the beginning when I leave. There is also some other buildings off in the distance over there. Botanechki Siad metro station I've been to before. I filmed the brand new shopping center there. There is also a very beautiful park there as well. And there's actually a Chinese park, I think that's the best way to describe it, right next to the station. Also, I will link that shopping center video in this description. So you could easily walk here. I'd say it's about 10 or 12 minutes walk. I decided to just get on the bus because it's also part of the transport network. So I just tapped my card, getting off the metro and then onto the bus. Very simple. Plenty of parking. That modern building off in the distance is actually a school. I think we'll actually walk around there just to get a bit closer for a minute. It is getting dark very quickly in Moscow now that it's winter. But look, December, and there's no snow anywhere. It's just not cold enough. Today's only about -5 Celsius. So the snow just won't stick to the ground. If it decides to snow, it'll just fall like wet rain, and that's it. If you are watching this and wondering who the heck is this guy speaking English walking in the suburbs of Moscow, I'm an Australian who lives in the Moscow region. I live on the other side of Moscow, so it's just about 2 hours to get here, combining a suburban train and a couple of metros. However, to make videos, I'll happily travel anywhere in Moscow to come and film something that I've got an opportunity to go and visit. This is a completely brand new finished apartment in the building, just somewhere to the right, just here. And I make videos about everyday typical things. And I hope this channel shows that to you, that there's a lot of normal and a lot of typical here in Russia, and enjoy some of the other videos on the channel. It's really interesting just to stand here at this intersection So this is the school that I was pointing out, and this is brand new. Now the kids have all finished for the day because it's currently 3:30 p.m. But it's just interesting to see the different contrasts in the buildings. Now this school would have been built by the developers who made all of these apartments in this area. And then part of the agreements, they actually hand them over to the education department. And they, of course, run it as a school. And part of what the administration wants to do is to create these micro districts where everything is available and nearby. So things like shops, schools, clinics, hospitals, and you don't then have to travel so far from where you live to be able to enjoy life. You don't have to get in a car and drive somewhere. Obviously people do, and if you're moving to this area, obviously things like schools are important for families and people that have got kids. But just panning around here and showing this, I think is quite interesting. Now it's not particularly beautiful weather, it's just overcast and damp and cold. But you can definitely see some kind of beauty if you're into seeing apartments and buildings. One thing that I did notice on the building that I'm going to go visit is they've got some outside balconies, which are really not very practical for Russia, because you're only using them for about 2 or 3 months of the year. So I'm not sure of the place that I'm going to go visit if it has one, but it's just interesting to see the balconies on the outside. Someone's actually put a glass protection around there, as there's one in the entire building. As I walk around the building and try to find the entrance, what is very normal when these micro districts get built is the lower ground floor are always different businesses. And they try to give a good mixture of shops and things like salons, pharmacies, sometimes small supermarkets. Here is actually a wine shop. There's a cafe right there. There's a kids store, I think. And then there's a beer shop. Actually, where the lights are over there, there is another cafe. So there's plenty of things nearby. You don't really need to go far from where you live. Now this is a new complex, and they've still got one more tower to complete. So what they generally do, they release it in stages, and as one's finished, they move on to the next one, and so the process goes on. Actually, off in the distance is my favorite Pitorichka. They have a supermarket in the corner over there. Also, there is a bread shop and bakery, which is really nice. I'd love to see these apartments on this top level. Look at all the glass, floor to ceiling windows. That's pretty neat. I am hoping this is the entrance right here. After walking around a few times, I have been given all the information to get in, but just not the entrance number. And gentlemen, if you're watching, right next to the entrance is a flower shop. So if you're ever in trouble, this is your first stop before you head on inside. Part of the videos I make, and if you haven't watched one before, I give you the full experience and not just walk straight in the door and show you everything. So you've actually got an entranceway to come into this hallway, which actually has central heating on, which is nice. And then we need to go through the door. Now, if you were an owner, you would have the option of either tapping the button right here with a card or token, or putting in the code for the floor. And it will actually then open the door right here, and we can go in. Inside the lobby area here, very simple. It has all of the letterboxes, and one thing that they do have is they've got a downstairs toilet. So if you're coming in from outside or you've got kids playing outside, you don't have to rush up to your apartment. There is a bathroom just through the door there. Now, because this, of course, is a new building, there is still lots of work going on. So they've actually put some paneling up on the walls and floor. This will get removed at a point where there is a certain percentage of apartments finished. And that way then everybody can have a brand new, clean looking apartment. There is also the stairs to go up if you want to. Have a look, someone's even put a Christmas tree right here. I didn't have any plan of walking up the stairs because it's on the 16th level. And we just need to go down this corridor. And we are somewhere here. So there is a series of apartments in this direction. And then I think where we need to go is at the end of the corridor right here. If you're ever wondering how you can check your meter for electricity, they've got the boxes right on the wall. And then actually, this is the fire escape right here. So if you do want to walk up and down, you could. It's very echoey. However, this is the way down or up, whichever way you want to go. Check that out. They've even got central heating mounted right there for keeping the corridors nice and warm. Let's head on inside now. Just to make it easier, I've got it unlocked already. It does have double locks, but very typically most people don't lock both locks because it's just too many locks to do and undo every time. But this very normal heavy door, these are absolutely standard. Part of the reason they have these bigger doors is just for insulation, for sound, for any kind of noises, anything like that. There's a really nice mirror on the back of the door. And then coming inside, now I have taken my shoes off, as you can see just down there. However, I was told coming here that this place has just been finished, the full remodeling. And essentially it needs the cleaners to come in and do a full clean of the apartment. So pretty much it's mostly just very dusty. That's all, because they don't clean as they go, because it just gets dusty again. So this apartment is 31 square meters, and it's set up as a studio style apartment. Now, depending on who the architect is, they could have easily separated the wall down the middle here and had a separate bedroom on one side and then the kitchen on the other. But the way they've done this, they've set it up the intention of either somebody to live here alone or perhaps a young couple or somebody who's recently married. I don't know, whoever wants to rent it really. So just to give you the layout, on the left here is the bathroom. And then as you walk in, somewhere to hang your coat. I will give you a full tour of this place, not just a couple of minutes and make it into a reel on some of the social media platforms. I want you to understand what these apartments look like and feel like. Now, really nice in this place is they've got a very generous storage cupboard. And I think everybody loves extra storage. And you can see all the leftover things from the builders. So a little bit of their supplies and things like that. And I just want to point out in here, so there is a mirror, of course, which is nice. They've got the Wi-Fi already installed up the top here. Normally they're on the other side of the wall, but I think just for looks, you can put it right there. There's already the plug and socket and everything. So the Wi-Fi is ready to go. You just need to set up your account. I will just step back here from this entranceway. And of course, here I am in the mirror. I'm sorry. There is reverse cycle air conditioning as well. Now, in all the apartments that I've lived in, we've never used it. It's been installed. We've never turned it on. In the apartments right now, or in winter in Russia, the central heating is on. And we'll actually see those in a second in the windows. Actually, the one thing that does strike you when you walk in here is these big floor-to-ceiling windows, which from outside I was hoping to see them. Now they're a little bit dusty, but that's not a problem. The big bank of lights, I pretty much turned every light on here. And this bathroom is super nice. So just mind the dust and the dirt. Once this is cleaned, then it's ready to go. And I think either tomorrow or the next day somebody is coming. I like these subway tiles, these floor-to-ceiling tiles. And have a look, a bathtub. Everybody loves that. And actually this plastic film right here will just get peeled off, but that gives you access to the plumbing if you need to. Very nice. And you've also got the rain shower, my favorite thing in these apartments. Also a heated towel rail, which is really nice. And then, of course, toilet we don't need to see too much of, but the washing machine built in to the underneath of the sink, which is super nice. And I'd say this is a kind of shaving cabinet. Actually, it's even got the lights. I don't know, you can't switch it on. There's a plug right there as well if you've got a hairdryer or shaver. And then your technical area right here, if you're curious, for the water services and things like underfloor heating, your hot and cold meter right there. And this even has a boiler. So in summertime, they switch off the hot water for maintenance, and you've still got constant hot water. Ask any Russian and they'll explain it to you. It's a built-in washing machine, absolutely normal and standard. I do like this kind of decorating, these feature walls that they've done. It's very nice. This is your breaker box for the electricity. So some are switched on, some aren't. Now I was informed coming here that the electricity would be on for me. Normally what happens when they're being built, the breakers get switched off each day as the workers come back and forward. But they've finished and they're gone. So this open plan actually gives you a nice spacious feel. So over here, double bed. Have a look at the lights and the walls. Is that a wallpaper? I think it is. Yeah, so it's just a kind of a few sheets of wallpaper. But the bed is ready to go. Some lamps. There's even some plugs if you want to plug your devices in. You have a desk for all of your computer. I'd be very happy here. Put my screens right there, all the plugs underneath. Of course, being brand new, the furniture just needs unwrapping. Table, perfectly fine. Table for two. And then have a look at this view. Just point out the radiators. These are the same model that I've got in my apartment. So there would have been some that were installed here as part of the building, but a lot of people changed them to more efficient ones. I wish it wasn't so dusty. Let's open the window. Oh, fresh air coming in. It's very... All right, so I actually just cut off the recording there because I went to grip at my camera and press the stop button. But have a look at the view. So where we started was just right down on the street just there. You can see the church and then the very big open space and gardens. Now, there's a little bit of finishing off to do downstairs. The people that are doing the building of this micro district end up doing all of the finishing right at the end. And then you can get a nice view of, well, the northern part of Moscow. That's Ostankina TV tower over there. So that would also be Vdenha in the distance. Actually, you can see the Ferris wheel, which is called the Sun of Moscow. Wow, yeah, so you can actually see the main entrance of Den Haag over there. That's very cool. You can see how cloudy and foggy it is. You can't see the top of the TV tower. So if you were going to go there today, no view. I think they tell you nowadays, don't they, before you want to go up there, if the view is possible or not. I think it's one of the highest viewing points in Russia. So just swinging around here so you can see where my jacket is and bag and shoes and things like that. However, as a rental property, and for someone who would live alone or maybe a couple, very suitable. Now, if you have an argument, you don't have many places to go. I think my wife would end up sending me to the storage closet. I like how they've created a separation in the flooring. So as you come in, there's the tiles and this entranceway, and then it turns into an engineered wood floor. And just the fact that there's not even the lip, that's good building, where it's a flush finish. But you just have that nicer feel of the wood under your feet. And I think a rug or a carpet would also suit this little area right here. So nice sofa, TV. Now, when these apartments are built, you have quite a lot of options of how you do it. Now, what is very normal or typical is people engage in a builder who will do everything turnkey. So you give them the set of keys, and then a number of months later, they give them back to you. Everything is finished. And generally, you'll just go through some of the design elements, so the actual floor plan, and then the colors. And you may even have a hand in choosing what the color of the kitchen might look like, or even the quality of the appliances. So the brand of the fridge and things like that. Or some people want to be completely hands-off and just let the developer do everything. And I think they've done a very good job of doing this kind of zones within the apartment. Now for me, the windows are what make this place. Now I think you just need to put a few curtains up, or even some blinds, some of those ones that roll up and down, and you're good. So pretty much in all apartments in Russia, under the windows are the radiators. So these are very normal and typical. And so they're actually on, however, the plastic's still on them, even they didn't peel off the plastic from those. So that just needs to be done. You've got a very nice window. I just love that you can see the Den Haag over there. So you could walk to the metro station and then catch it one more, I think, stop over there. There's probably a bus that runs right by that will take you there. TV on the wall as well. TV cupboards, they've hidden everything that needs to be hidden. And then the kitchen. Now, 31 square meters. Now they could have moved the walls over and made things bigger in one area and smaller in the other. But this open plan, I think, works very well. It would have been very easy to put a wall that runs along the center here, as I just pointed out before, and make a separate room. It could have been done. Now, when you buy these properties, what's called black box finish, the structural walls can't be touched, but the internal walls can be, and you can then do it how you like. You might just hear slight noise of someone drilling. So being that it's a new building, there's still people doing work, and the fact it's only 4 o'clock, they definitely haven't finished. So the kitchen right here, all the essential things. Now, in a small apartment, you don't usually get an oven, but I'd say probably the owner requested that. So you've got the hot plate, which is nice, oven, and just the drawers. You know, you can put all your bits and pieces in these, and then all your workings for the sink. Nice big sink as well, and then overhead cupboards. This is your range hood fan, which goes out into the kind of the communal wall space. Microwave built in. I mean, what more do you need, really? And a full fridge. And those top cupboards as well, which are always awkward to get to. But the fridge right there. So when they do all of this building, they don't, unpack things as they go. They leave it till the last minute. They've got a sort of rule that it just keeps everything beautiful and perfect. But what do you think? Could you live here? Now this apartment, isn't designed for a family with 2 or 3 kids. It's really suited to someone who would live alone, someone who's maybe moving to Moscow for the first time, or somebody that's perhaps a young couple or an older couple. It doesn't matter the age. And in the building here, there is other sizes of apartments. So you can get apartments that are a little bit smaller, and you can get apartments that are 2 or 3 or 4 rooms. So you'd get as many as 3 bedroom apartments in this same exact complex. And how it's been purchased and built and designed is how we end up in this situation. And just the lights, again, looking over at the park. If you've ever been to Moscow and been to Vdenha, you'll know exactly what I mean. And I've been up the Tower of Ostankino. That's actually a television tower, and it has a viewpoint on the, something like the 80th floor. So it's a pretty cool place to go to. And then when I leave here, I'll end up walking down to Botanechki Siad metro station and head on home from here. So what do you think? Now I'm gonna end the video going through the price with you. And to make it easier, I'm gonna do that at home because I can talk about everything in one go. And I can put the prices up as I'm talking about it. But could you live here? I definitely could. And I'm curious of everybody else's thoughts as well. So I've made it back home and I can go through all of the information about the apartment. And super interesting place. I hadn't been there before I started filming. I normally film the apartment first and then actually do the introduction afterwards and film backwards. But because it was getting dark quite quickly, I thought it was just a smart idea to film the outside first and then do the inside, and then I'm back home. And the apartment, you're going to see all the information come up right here, is 31 square meters is the size of the apartment. It's considered a 1-room apartment. However, the way it's been laid out, it's studio style, so it could have had a separate bedroom. I've actually looked up a couple of the listings of other places in that building, and some have the bedroom, some don't. I think the way it's designed for one person or for a couple, I think it's perfectly fine like that. That open plan style. It was on the 16th floor, so actually you could see there the views looking out across Moscow. You could see the botanical gardens. You could see Vdenha off in the distance, the Ostankino television tower. Really, it's always nice to see some kind of a view across the landscape of Moscow. It's such a big territory to take in. The apartment is listed as a rental, so it's listed for rent, and it's fully furnished. So exactly what you saw right there is what is part of the lease agreement. Obviously, pretty much either today or tomorrow, the cleaners are going to come in and give it an absolute spring clean or a winter clean, and was really just dusty, that's all, and just general dirt and things like that from the building process because the builders had just left the day before. Now the location of it's really interesting because it was actually roughly between 2 different metro stations, and when I arrived I came by bus from Vladikano metro station, which was in one direction. And then when I went to leave, I actually walked down to Botanechki Siad or Botanical Garden metro station, however you like. Roughly 15 minutes walk in either direction, When I was walking back to the metro, I was probably going a little bit quicker because I was trying to get home. And then I was going to get the train, and then the metro, and then another train, and then here I am. I'm on the other side of Moscow from where that was today, so it's really not a problem with public transport. You use the app on your phone. It tells you which way to go, even which carriage of the train to sit in. So you were sort of situated in between both. You could see, obviously, lots of small businesses, shops, supermarkets. Within walking distance, you had everything you need. I mean, there's even no need to get in a car and drive to a supermarket. There was actually a couple more on the way as I was walking towards the metro to go home as well, not just in the territory where the buildings were. And there were still quite a few empty spaces, so over time they'll fill up with more businesses. So plenty of things nearby. You could see the school that I pointed out as well. And of course, if people have kids, schools are always a need and necessity. Now the price, so that's going to come up right here as well. So listed for rent, it would be for 70,000 rubles, and that's per calendar month, so 4 weeks or a month. I think most people are used to monthly rental prices, but of course some people like weekly. And the exchange rate works it out at 869 US dollars, 649 British pounds, 739 euros, 1,197 Canadian dollars, 1,316 Australian dollars. So if you were to rent that place, basically you're paying a monthly rental, and then your only additional expenses would be for water and electricity and Wi-Fi. So if you wanted Wi-Fi in the apartment, you saw the router on the wall there, or router, and you could connect that yourself. A lot of people will actually just use their phone signal and then hotspot that to a computer or to the TV and things like that. But the electricity and water would be metered use, but it's very reasonable and it's not that expensive. I know a lot of people do ask what the price is, but for the cost of water and electricity in Russia, it's a lot less than it is in other countries, put it that way. My wife and I have worked that out, what we were paying in Australia and paying here in Russia, and it's substantially less here. Thanks everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video and this walk around. I know they're long videos, but that's the sort of video that I like to make. And I think for a secret word, the Ostankina TV tower. So let's go with the word TV or television. And let's see if that ends up at the end of the video in the comments. Thumbs up if you like these apartment tours and these walk-arounds. Post a comment, could you live there? That's my question in every video. And I mean, I certainly could. I could stare out that window all day long and enjoy the view of Moscow because it's a metropolis city. Remember, it's a city with a population of 15 million people. I mean, even the amount of people on the public transport every day and the amount of people that were on the train for me coming home today was a lot. So thanks everybody for watching these videos, and there is plenty more in playlists to watch. If you want to follow my Telegram, the link will be right here. You can click that. And then if you want to watch an old video on the channel, one will come up right here. And you can keep traveling with Russell. Okay everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.